Hey everybody, this is nobody here again, because second video of my entire account, basically. Don't don't go bother watching the other ones, they're embarrassing. Well, they're not embarrassing, they're pretty cool, but they're niche also. So anyway, I wanted to do, instead of taking a nap before I gotta head off to third shift, I wanted to do a quick response video to Rudy's video from Alpha Investments that he just put up, which is basically he decided to do it because he was apparently getting death threats from people, I guess, on Reddit or wherever else they hate him, about the Spark Mythic Edition fiasco. And I guess the death threats were coming from, people who thought he was trying to manipulate the market, saying, it's not investable, it's garbage, get rid of it. Also, that it's print to demand. Um, and, let me start off by saying this. I understand where that mentality comes from of, you know, I understand where the mentality of I'd like this person to no longer live comes from. And you can, it's a touchy subject because, it's okay, you can understand it, and understanding it is important, but at the end of the day, I feel like that has to be everyone's line. Like, you don't go out there and actually, say, I wish you were dead, or I'm going to make sure you're dead, or that your family's dead, or everyone you love, whatever, what have you. I understand where it comes from. I understand that everyone kind of reaches a limit of, hate and disgust and vitriol and disdain and just because where those emotions come from is seeing kind of a system continue to not be what you think it should be and just continue to see it go in the wrong direction. And that's what happened is a lot of people saw a bad system continue to go in a bad direction, which was the way in which the Mythic Edition War of the Spark was handled, because is basically a repeat of the first one, not the Guilds of Ravnica, I think, but the other one. I could be wrong. No, it might have been Guilds. Whatever the first one was with Teferi in it. Um, and it really upset people because they want to see change in the right direction. And the other compounding factor was, I'll go ahead and say it. I'm not sure, nor was I sure in the first place already, that Rudy actually was not able to get any, considering the amount of infrastructure he was kind of that he said he was already going to put out there. A few days ago, not a few days ago, a week or so ago, maybe 10 days, that he was actually going to go after the set and said he was going to get not quite 1,000, but that he was also going to monitor the flow and see what happens, so that it's not a repeat of the second Mythic Edition, which just no one wanted and took a month to sell out. Um, that was part of where the hate kind of came from, because I feel like there were people like me who, on a base non-emotional level, said to themselves, there's no way Rudy isn't aware that this is going to sell out crazy fast. There's no way that he doesn't have things in place to get as many as he can when it does launch. I'm not so sure that he was going to monitor everything, because if he was planning on getting, let's say almost 1,000, he's got a sizable percentage of the market cornered already. So, and considering that he's trying to do that with you know alpha graded cards anyway, or maybe he already has like 10% of the market. I forget. That was a long video ago, and he's probably since added to the collection, no doubt. Um, it's hard. It's hard to make the argument that he wouldn't go for it. Now, that being said, to his in defense of that, a counter argument to the point that I just made of there's no way he didn't go for some. A counter argument is the ones that I went for that I explained in my first, video, which you should go check out. I'll have a link in the description. Some of the information's, old news now, but most of it's still pretty good and pretty good speculative conversation piece, I feel, so definitely go give it a listen. But the counterpoint to me saying, he's definitely going after these, I feel like he's holding something back from us. The counterpoint is he's said before, It might have actually been in his video about the Mythic Edition or in a different video, but he said before, not to make financial decisions based on emotion. And, if he's living by that mantra, then there's a pretty good chance that he was just waiting to see what the market did, waiting to see what happened. Because that the whole mentality of this is going to be huge, this is going to be worth $500 plus, I have to get as many as I can. That's an emotional. You're making a financial decision based on emotions, and I know because I did that. That is definitely one of the factors that I had going into War of the Spark Mythic Edition. But I recognized that, and even though that was a factor, I still decided to go in on it because I still considered that factoring that in, that emotionality, it was still worth the risk reward. And so, to sum up the quick video, um, you know, death threats, don't do them, guys. I gotta say no to that. Again, I very much understand the point to a person can reach where, emotionality is high, frustration is high, watching things deteriorate to the point of, you know, seeing that those deteriorating factors happen to the point of repetition over and over and over, not seeing any change, seeing people like Rudy, his practices are questionable. I'm not arguing that, and I do have some issue with them. Maybe I'll make some more videos if you all, maybe I have 10 listeners now. If you all felt like hearing some of those, I might do some more discussion on that. Because, if I had, I won't call it a dream, but if I had a goal to continue doing these types of talks, it would be to bridge kind of the Reddit community and the investor slash Rudy community, because there's clearly some vitriol and some hate between them, but I understand where it comes from. It's just the vitriol and the hate that crosses the bridge comes from that group where the vitriol and hate comes from feeling like they aren't being heard. And that's what happens. It's frustration that incubates, and then as it continues to incubate without having any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Acknowledgement that it's there, or having not been thrown a bone of any sort that is, here, we'll try and do better, or let's curtail this negative direction into a more positive one. Not hearing anything like that, that's what causes, you know, the hate and the vitriol and the things that ultimately come out, apparently, in this case, as death threats. Because again, it's watching things continue in a bad cycle and a non-changing cycle, compounded by, in this scenario, what I'm sure a lot of speculation that there already was uh, before the product even launched at 3 o'clock this afternoon, was that Rudy was probably going after him anyway. Like, I still, I'm about 80-20 on that theory as far as was he going to go for the product. Excuse me. Was he going to go for the product more so than what he advertised on his channel? I'm about 80% yeah. I still feel like he's going to have gotten some of them. Let's say he had 400 people ready to get 800 boxes for him, let's just say. Let's say a quarter of them were successful in that first wave. That gives him, 200 boxes that he would have got successfully, and maybe he's just like, okay, well, that's all I get, I guess. Um, Worst case scenario, he did that, and then watched them get relisted and made a logical investment decision to say, okay, wait, let's hold off, let's not be getting more, let's just sit and see what happens. That's what I think the worst case scenario is. Best case scenario is he is living by his mantra and he decided not to make that emotional decision, or not to have that emotionality in the financial decision of, do you put money in this or do you not put money in this. So again, long story short, which I've already said, death threats are a no. That should be everyone's line, along with other really morally questionable things. Um, you know, don't make death threats. Don't have that mindset. You turn into Everyone has to be careful to not turn into the thing that they hate. That's the line that's one of the many lines you have to walk through life. So when you cross over into death threat territory, that's when you've crossed the line, and that's when you need to readjust yourself. And I know it's frustrating because you just want to see changes done, and then you see them not done, and then you react in a certain way. Trust me, I've been there. I know it. I see it every day. But you gotta have. There's a line you gotta not cross, and that's definitely one of them. So that's all I got. DDR guy out. Peace. Don't threaten people.